The Australian dream reality versus illusion Australia, the land of sunshine, beaches and laid-back living. We see images of happy Aussies barbecuing by the pool, surfing world-class waves and enjoying a life of abundance. This is the Australian dream sold to the world. But what about the reality behind the postcode? What about the Australians struggling to afford basic necessities, battling mental health issues or facing discrimination? This is the side of Australia we don't often see, the one hidden beneath the surface of prosperity. This is not to say the Australian dream is a complete fabrication. It's true, Australia boasts a high quality of life, a stable democracy and breathtaking natural beauty. However, it's crucial to acknowledge the challenges that exist alongside these positives. To truly understand Australia, we must look beyond the glossy brochures and engage with the complex realities faced by many of its residents. From soaring living costs and social inequality to environmental threats and a mental health crisis, there's another side to the Australian story. This narrative is often whispered, relegated to the shadows of national pride. But it's a story that deserves to be told, not to diminish Australia's achievements, but to foster a more honest and nuanced conversation about the nation's present and future. This is the story of the Australians who work tirelessly just to make ends meet, who struggle to access essential services, and who feel unheard and unseen. It's a story of resilience, yes, but also of systemic issues that demand our attention. This is the story of Australia. Democracy in action, but with hidden challenges that can no longer be ignored. The price of paradise, navigating the high cost of living. The Australian dream often begins with owning a home, but for many Australians, this dream is becoming increasingly out of reach. Housing affordability is a major concern, with property prices skyrocketing in recent years, particularly in major cities like Sydney and Melbourne. Young people in particular are finding it difficult to enter the property market, often priced out of the suburbs they grew up in. But it's not just housing. The cost of living in Australia is among the highest in the world. Groceries, utilities, transportation and childcare all come with a hefty price tag. Wages, however, have not kept pace with these rising costs, leaving many Australians struggling to keep their heads above water. For low-income families, pensioners, and those reliant on government assistance, the struggle is even more pronounced. This financial pressure creates a ripple effect throughout society. It leads to increased stress and anxiety, relationship breakdowns, and a decline in overall well-being. It forces people to make difficult choices between essentials like food, rent, and healthcare. The Australian dream, once a symbol of opportunity and prosperity, is becoming increasingly elusive for a growing number of citizens. This issue demands urgent attention. Addressing the housing crisis, tackling inflation, and ensuring fair wages are crucial steps towards easing the financial burden on Australians. Failure to do so risks creating a society divided by wealth, where the dream of a good life is reserved for the privileged few. A nation divided, social inequality and systemic discrimination. Australia prides itself on being an egalitarian society, but the reality is more complex. Despite its wealth and resources, Australia grapples with significant social inequality. The gap between the rich and the poor is widening, and access to opportunities varies greatly depending on factors like postcode, cultural background, and socio-economic status. Indigenous Australians in particular face systemic disadvantage and discrimination. Despite making up a small percentage of the population, they experience disproportionately high rates of poverty, unemployment, incarceration, and health issues. The legacy of colonisation and ongoing systemic racism continue to cast a long shadow over their lives. For more immigrants, particularly those from non-English speaking backgrounds or refugee experiences, often face barriers to integration and equality. Discrimination in employment, housing, and access to services is a harsh reality for many. Addressing these inequalities requires a multifaceted approach. including tackling racism, promoting social inclusion, and investing in programs that support disadvantaged communities. Australia cannot claim to be a fair and just society until everyone has an equal opportunity to thrive. Addressing social inequality is not just a matter of social justice, but also of economic sense. A more equitable society benefits everyone, fostering greater social cohesion, productivity, and overall well-being. The shadow pandemic, Australia's mental health crisis. Behind Australia's sunny exterior lies a hidden epidemic, a mental health crisis affecting people of all ages and backgrounds. The statistics are alarming. Suicide rates are on the rise, particularly among young people, and demand for mental health services far outstrips supply. The reasons behind this crisis are complex and interconnected. Financial stress, social isolation, work pressure, the pressure to succeed, and the relentless pace of modern life all take their toll. Stigma surrounding mental health issues prevents many from seeking help, and those who do often face long waiting lists and inadequate funding for services. This is a crisis that demands a whole-of-society response. We need to invest in early intervention and prevention programs, improve access to affordable mental health care, and create a culture where it's okay to speak up and seek help. Ignoring this crisis is not an option. The human cost is simply too high. Breaking down the stigma surrounding mental health is crucial. We need to encourage open conversations, empathy, and understanding. Everyone deserves access to the support they need to live mentally healthy lives. It's time to shine a light on this shadow pandemic and work towards a future where mental well-being is a priority for all Australians. Australia's unique environment faces significant challenges due to climate change. Rising temperatures, prolonged droughts, and devastating bushfires are becoming more frequent. The impact on biodiversity is profound, with many species struggling to survive in these changing conditions. Efforts are underway to mitigate these effects, but the road ahead is long and fraught with difficulties. While Australia is often seen as a safe haven, it is not without its crime and safety concerns. Urban areas in particular face challenges with crime rates that vary widely by location. Efforts by law enforcement and community programs aim to address these issues, but the perception of safety can be as impactful as the statistics themselves. Understanding the complexities of crime and safety in Australia requires a nuanced approach, considering both the successes and the ongoing challenges. Urbanisation has led to rapid development and growth in cities across Australia. However, this progress comes at a cost. As more people move to urban areas, there's a growing disconnection from nature. Many Australians are now living in concrete jungles, far removed from the natural landscapes that once defined the country. This shift has significant implications for mental health, community well-being, and environmental sustainability. Substance abuse is a pervasive issue affecting many Australians. The misuse of drugs and alcohol can lead to devastating consequences not only for the individuals involved, but also for their families and communities. Addiction can result in health problems, financial difficulties, and strained relationships. Efforts to combat substance abuse require a multifaceted approach, including education, support services, and robust healthcare interventions. Australia's immigration policies have been a topic of intense debate. While the country has a history of welcoming immigrants, recent policies have raised concerns about the treatment of refugees and asylum seekers. The journey for many seeking a new life in Australia is fraught with challenges, and the conditions in detention centres have been criticised for their harshness. It's crucial to balance border security with compassion and human rights. In the face of these challenges, there is a pressing need for honest dialogue and positive change. Australians must come together to address these issues with empathy and understanding. By fostering open conversations and working collaboratively, we can create a more inclusive, supportive, and sustainable future for all. It's time to take action and make a difference.